All right, everyone. Looks like we are live. We are up and running. Might be a little bit of a video glitch going on, but I think we're figuring this out. Hopefully, we're juggling. We're going as we go. But yeah. So today I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy,
DJ TRIGGS.
and together we are No Debate Sports. And I'd say we're riding pretty high last night after a Packers win and a Chiefs loss. Like that is a win-win from both of our sides for sure.
That's true. That is true.
Absolutely. And I don't know how you feel, but man, I really like what's brewing with Green Bay. I like the future, and there's some things coming up that I like that I see some really good things happening with the Packers.
I mean, I've been tuning the band, tuning up the band for like weeks, and
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people did not believe me, but the Packers have a pretty good shot at making the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and like I do wonder what the exact math is when it comes to okay, if you're like the highest ranking team in your conference, obviously you're more than likely going to make the playoffs. But I do wonder if there's something skewed about that because when I look at Green Bay now and beating Detroit, beating Kansas City, let's be honest, those are two teams that are both in the top four teams in their conferences right now. And you
Mhm.
took them both down. So for that to happen, plus something that I think we should go into is the schedule of the Green Bay Packers. And if you combine those two factors together, the schedule plus beating two elite opponents,
Mhm.
man, I think Green Bay's chances of making the playoffs are absurdly high.
Oh yeah. Like, I've been going through this for weeks and I've been saying, man, if we could get through this team, if we can get through this
Yes.
team. And then I'm like, the end of the schedule is so easy. Like, the
It
Packers realistically could be a 10-win team, and no one would have thought that at the beginning.
absolutely. And something that I definitely want to post to our social medias later. And I saw this like kind of maybe like midway through the third quarter last night. And up popped five different team logos. And initially at first I saw them, I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess they're posting some graphic about how Green Bay isn't going to be at the bottom of the 2024 draft. Seeing teams like the Giants, the Buccaneers, the Vikings. I think the Carolina Panthers were on this graphic
Yep,
as well.
they were.
And no, this actually isn't a graphic about the 2024 draft. That graphic is actually your remaining schedule. That
Yep.
is mind blowing, like crazy stuff right there.
You missed one team, and you're wearing their hat right now, but the Bears,
Oh, the Bears are in there too. Oh my
they
goodness.
are.
Jeez, man,
Yeah. That's
that's like
why, I mean, like, that was
yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I said, like, if they could get, I thought they could get two of these games between the Chargers, Detroit, and Kansas City, but then like
Yeah,
they got all three of them.
they
It's
got
just
all
like,
three of them. Oh man,
what?
absolutely, absolutely. I think definitely the tide started to turn against LA, but just handedly taking down Detroit, and then pretty much from the moment you had that Jaden Reed jet sweep to start the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, that was it, man. Like it felt like there was so much momentum going with Green Bay's offense that they just never really let off the pedal. Maybe a few plays here and there from the Chiefs game last night with a lot of pressure, a lot of Spagnola pressure coming in hot on Jordan Love. But other than that, that guy made some excellent plays. Looks very poised in the pocket. Just really cool stuff out of Green Bay now, and even the defense is looking really cool too.
And like, that was another thing I was talking about, is like, people were bashing the Green Bay defense, but they actually were the good part of the team. And the only reason they were getting scored on is because the offense was giving up the ball so fast. But now
Yep.
you see, like, we actually, like, I think last night the time of possession was like the same or pretty close to it.
Okay.
And what happens? Basically, the Packers just shut down that offense.
Yeah. How offhand, do you know what that time of possession was?
Let's check. I was looking for it, and then I was like, it's got to be somewhere.
Uh, yeah,
Give me a
I
second. I'll
know.
find
I
it.
think. Yeah. I got you. I think it was the first half had only 6 drives between both teams. Like that's it. There were only 6 drives. So the time of possession for this game, I think, especially from the Green Bay side, should be massive.
No, it was like the last time I checked, it was about the same, and that's how it ended. It was 30 minutes, 30 seconds for Green Bay, 29 minutes, 30 seconds for Kansas City.
Oh wow. Literally almost a 30 for 30.
Yep. And
There
I
you
mean,
go.
total yardage was about the same.
Sure.
I know the Packers had more passing yards. Kansas City had more rushing yards.
Yep.
But everything else was kind of the same. It was basically Jordan Love against Patrick Mahomes and who was going to make more throws. And oddly enough, it was Jordan Love.
Yeah, absolutely. I like from the moment this game started, and yeah, people can definitely push back and say, oh, well, this is what history is. But going into this game last night, I felt flat out that Green Bay had the better quarterback. Absolutely, you got a guy who's just going to go out there and ball, who is athletic, who is not banged up, not hurt, um, and is just going to let it rip. And he's got guys who can catch the ball, who can run all sorts of crazy routes. And let's be honest, the Chiefs receivers stink. Like Marquez Valdez-Scantling has shown that he was not good in Green Bay. He's not good in Kansas City. That is being shown in front of our eyes. So I think Green Bay is really starting to move in the right direction, and I honestly think that Kansas City is truly lacking firepower.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, I know Christian Watson went down, and people are going to bring
Sure,
up that
that
missed
hurt.
pass interference at the end, and like, yeah,
Make a play.
that could cost them a little bit, but Green Bay was up 8. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Green Bay was up 8. They gave Patrick Mahomes the late hit on the sideline when he was clearly in bounds.
Yep.
Like, then there was another play down the line where it was time. It was the clock where a guy literally got tackled inside of the field of play, and the clock stopped, and it was like, what? And then,
Yeah.
I mean, that fumble. I've always been under the assumption, and I know they said it during the telecast a bunch of times. If it's called a fumble on the field, they have to have enough evidence to overturn the call on the field. And
Right.
that that was one of those where, like, I know his butt was sitting in someone's hand and the ball looked like it was
Yeah.
moving. So, like, I
I thought. Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I thought there was an angle from the front of that player that was sitting on the ground that to me made it really look that, oh, yeah, he was sitting on the ground before that ball was getting dislodged in a split second. And
Yeah.
that's where I felt that that was actually down by contact. I did feel that before then, like he was definitely rolling over bodies. And if that ball was getting wedged out before then, boom, straight up fumble, totally the way to go. And I understand it.
Right.
Kind of
And I
remind me, like, yeah, but yeah, go
I
ahead.
I think they got. I mean, I believe they got the play right. Like, it
Yes,
wasn't a fumble, but it's like I saw a bunch of stuff this morning of just like people bashing refs and doing this, and it's like, man, in that last, and actually Patrick Mahomes said it perfect during his press
he did.
conference.
He
Like,
did.
by that point, it's about who makes plays, because like they missed calls on both sides. It wasn't just a
Yeah,
one-sided thing. And you
Nope.
can go through the whole game and nitpick like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Yes.
And then if they did get the touchdown, they had to go for a 2-point. Well, guess what? They went for a 2-point earlier and the Packers stopped them. So it's like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
and the other thing that I really don't like, and I was a sports official for over a decade, and
Mhm.
I really don't like it when there is a play that is not a good looking, well executed play, but then has some sort of interference, and it's somewhat kind of, it's not 100%, right? It's not
Right.
like something where you're like, boy, if there wasn't that interference, then that play would be 100% caught, right? You get the feel for it. You can feel that tempo in the moment of a play. And to me, especially that MVS play towards the end of the game, and even the Philadelphia Eagles game, which had a very similar play as well, it just doesn't feel like MVS is a good enough player to put himself in a athletic like position to make a catch in a way that we see stronger receivers making those kind of plays, like it's Devontae Adams or AJ Brown. They have just a better, stronger athleticism, build, and intelligence about them when it comes to making a play in the moment than Marquez Valdez Scantling has, and you don't reward that.
Right. And that's, I mean, one of the things that Packers fans didn't really care for MVS was like he was just known to be a speedster and go down the field. And if he
Yeah,
was open, he was all right, but he would drop the ball a lot. And when Kansas City picked him up, I was like, oh, good riddance. That's great. And look, he dropped the pass the other week where they could have won a game. With
yep,
this play, just like you said, he didn't really make a move on the ball. Yeah, they collided, but it was like
sure.
it almost seemed like the corner was going for the ball faster than
Yes,
MVS was, and that's why he ran him over.
absolutely. Exactly. That is 100% accurate. That's exactly why, like, if you're the ref that is seeing that play from a trailing position, right? So I kind of put this in more basketball terms than I am football terms at the moment. But when you're looking at that play, right, if you're trailing, you're seeing those two players in front of you and you're behind them essentially, and you're seeing the back of those players to your vision. And I would say in the heat of that moment, it's just not enough. I mean, if it's something where that Packers receiver gets there probably a good second earlier than that kind of play, and MVS comes into the catch, that's one thing. But it's more like MVS was still trailing outside, and the Packers receiver was kind of going outside as well, but at that last possible moment came in to deflect the pass.
Yeah, and like it looked like MVS tried to slow up too.
Yeah.
And then another part is like I know I was hearing about the Hail Mary at the end, and it's like
Oh, get that out of here.
right, they're like, oh, he pushed Kelsey in the back. It's like no, no, that
Everyone
ball was
did.
like right. Everyone hit each other, and on top of that, the ball was
Yeah.
like 5 yards behind him. There was no
Yeah.
way he was going to catch that. And I'm just
I
like,
mean, let's bring up and every basketball play that comes into a last second play where the ball is inbounded into the paint. Like, let's go back to who knows what the Phoenix game going into their semifinals against the Clippers where they played the Bucks, where Jay Crowder inbounds it perfectly to DeAndre Ayton. You're not telling me that there isn't some kind of hand checking behind the back to one of those players at some point? Of course
right,
there is. But in the heat of the moment, at that point, you are really focused on the point of contact with the object that you're playing with. So you're really looking at some kind of interference on the wrist or maybe the body closest to where that ball is being caught or received. So anything before that pretty much is going to go. It's got to, like, people who don't play sports, they probably don't really understand that. But when you really do play some kind of competitive event that has an object that you're playing with, you're not running a track meet, right? When you're playing something with an object and a ball per se, that final moment of a game is going to come down to pretty much wherever that object is located, whatever is kind of going on nearby is pretty much going to get ignored because you're hyper focused on exactly where that monumental play can be scored.
Right. And I mean, it's a Hail Mary. Like, they don't get caught
Yeah.
very often. Like,
No, they don't.
it just blew my mind that the 4-letter network was literally like, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. And even like Collinsworth and Trico were like, oh, that could have been a penalty and this could have been. I'm like,
I know.
Dude, just
I'm
let
sick of
the
it.
game go. Just
Yeah,
let it go.
I know. I'm sick of it. And not only like from this game, and yeah, we saw it on NBC. I can tell you, I watch plenty of Fox Sports today, and I saw it on there as well. And they have a certain reporter who's very affiliated with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I was very impressed with him. He was not complaining about those calls. He, at the end of the day, said flat out, Green Bay played a better game than Kansas City did. Yeah. So that to me was spoke volumes of what really is going on with the Chiefs. And not only that, like from a fan who especially is not as I'll be honest, Kansas City is one of the least liked teams by myself, especially being a Raider. But I've seen multiple fan bases. Even Cincinnati is one. I think San Francisco I can put in there too because they played a Super Bowl against the Chiefs and lost, and especially Philadelphia as well, where it's like Kansas City gets all of these calls in like the oddest moments in order to secure a victory in the worst possible way. It's like they basically throw the ball deep or they run slightly close to out of bounds with Patrick Mahomes. He gets lit up. Boom, that's 15 yards on top of a play. Or you throw a pass deep downfield and you get bailed out at the last moment by a ref. That's been happening for like the last 3 years at least. Finally, this is the year where that's getting put in check because this Kansas City offense is nowhere near as good as it used to be.
Well, I mean, both of those things happened in the Packer game.
Exactly. That's no debate.
Man, that side shot, like sideline hit, like when he got hit, I was like, even in fast, like full on speed, I'm like, he was in bounds. And then all of a sudden I saw that flag go up and I'm like, what the heck? And then they actually like battled it out for a second, like, oh, wait, it is a flag. And I'm like, what?
No, it's not.
And then even when they showed it, and I think it was Collinsworth was at first was like, oh yeah, that was a late hit for sure. And then even he jumped on like, oh, actually he's in bounds. You could tell like Mahomes stayed in bounds on purpose. Like you could tell he was kind of fishing for that hit.
Yes, he was fishing for the hit. He was stretching as much yardage as he could get. And I'll be honest, honestly, ever since the back end of may have been even earlier than that, may have been like middle of last season, but middle of last season to now, they look broke. But like there is something with Mahomes that he doesn't look right. And clearly Kelsey doesn't look right at all either. And Pacheco is the one really running that offense now, along with that offensive line. But what's going on is like they won that Super Bowl because they really had 2 weeks off. Like the Eagles had that too, but again, you get to the game and then Mahomes gets bailed out on that play towards the end of regulation, and they kick a game-winning field goal, and it's a very anticlimactic way to end a Super Bowl in the worst possible way. So you have that, but it's like if that team didn't have the rest that they had of going to a Super Bowl, having a number 1 seed, they're just not that good anymore. And their offense keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, like that's kind of on the drafting and the off season that they've gone through, like signing an MVS to a big deal. Like, clearly that was a horrible decision.
It was.
I mean, getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then he was the guy for a little bit, then he wasn't the guy, then getting Pacheco, and then he was the guy, but he wasn't the guy, and then Jerick McKinnon was kind of the guy to catch passes, and then at least Rashee Rice, our guy, is kind of getting some love now, but like their offense is just a bunch of dudes and Kelsey.
It's bad. It's a bunch of dudes and Kelsey. And I know people want to pile on their receiving core, but I'll be honest too, Mahomes isn't making those big time throws like he used to anymore. It's just he is not that deep, intimidating threat anymore. And probably Tyreek Hill plays into that as well. That element of that offense is gone. They have not been anywhere close to being able to replace that.
Right. And Tyreek Hill is technically an MVP candidate right now, or at least an offensive player of the year candidate. And I thought this was kind of funny. It's one of the things I noticed before getting on the show. Sure. Do you know that Jordan Love and Patrick Mahomes have the exact same touchdown to interception ratio?
Wow. That's wild. I mean, pretty much I felt like it was a comparison between Mahomes and Russell Wilson, and that's not good either. But I think the fact that Jordan Love at this stage early in his career is right up there with a good TD to interception ratio of Mahomes is pretty solid.
Yeah, they're both 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions.
Okay. Well, that's solid, man. I think it's pretty interesting to see him like this already to start his career. And I know there's a lot of comparisons to Aaron Rodgers' beginning of his career as well to Jordan Love. And there was actually a point in the game where actually their stats were exactly identical.
Yep.
Exactly. So I think that's a great sign. I love what's moving on with Jordan Love. And I kind of played it in my mind a few times today. And my whole theory about Kirk Cousins and what that future would play out, I just don't think is the right way to go from here on out. I feel like that would almost be delaying the inevitable, which would be the end of Cousins' career and the end of Matt LaFleur, because everything would get kind of stale in a way. Whereas you have Jordan Love, who is a mobile, athletic, good quarterback that's being developed, has young weapons around him. I like it. And I like too that how Gutekunst actually took a page out of Kyle Shanahan, but at a different position. The page he took out of was, hey, if I'm not feeling so hot about a certain position on offense, well, instead of drafting one of that player, let's draft two of them. And the fact that he drafted two tight ends early in the draft is paying dividends now, because if Musgrave might not be the guy, Tucker Kraft looked pretty solid.
Right, and I actually thought Tucker Kraft was going to be better when he came out of college. And then to hear that Musgrave was going to be the number one guy, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. But it happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, there were a few plays that I saw Musgrave that I really liked that were big highlights of him at Oregon State going into the goal line. But I saw other highlights of Musgrave on YouTube, and being honest, his highlight reel really isn't that impressive beyond the little razzle dazzle he had at the goal line in one of his Oregon State games. So it ultimately is just going to come down to who has better chemistry, who can be out there longer. And I think Musgrave's got a really some kind of like groin or kidney injury going on. So that's tough. But Tucker Kraft looks good, man. And all these receivers, these young, fast receivers that Green Bay has. And it was a bummer seeing Watson go down with a hamstring. But I feel like even losing Watson, this receiving core is not going to miss a beat. I think they're still going to keep moving very dynamically and have very interesting route trees that those guys are going to be running.
Right. And that's one of the things that I was kind of like looking at was so with Watson going down, yeah, he's been lighting it up touchdown wise the last 3 or 4 games or so. But like Jaden Reed has become like a super gadget guy, which has been awesome. Like he's running the ball, doing sweeps, like he's going all over the place. And then Dontavian Wicks has been just out there catching balls. And I'm like, this dude is actually pretty solid.
Yeah, I like it, man. Like it feels like there's this style going on where it's like the new Green Bay Packers receiving core has elements of Devontae Adams, but then they bring in elements of Tyreek Hill. And I wonder if that's kind of the methodology that some of these GMs are looking for. They want to look for some combination of size and speed. And when you get the best of both worlds, it can really open up your offense. And I give them a lot of credit for these guys that they got. And Jordan Love legitimately is developing these receivers where we can't say that about Patrick Mahomes. We just can't. He's had Tyreek Hill, and he is, yeah, we'll say he's developing Rashee Rice, but that's it. Like, it took Mahomes, 5-6 years to develop one wide receiver?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, it was literally, like, I'm looking at the box score. It was literally Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice. They had 12 receptions out of his 21 completions. And then for Love, you had Dobbs, Wicks, Watson, Kraft, Jaden Reed. Like, they all had 3+ receptions. And it's like that's what you're looking for. Like, a guy spreading the ball out.
Exactly. And I think too, like, you're looking for a guy spreading the ball out. And to me, I think it's almost like a Jacksonville situation where Jacksonville's playing tonight. But it's more like I almost feel more confident in certain receivers on Green Bay than I do of Jacksonville. But I know Calvin Ridley's starting to get much better chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. But I love seeing how that receiving core can get spread out. And to me, that really speaks volumes of how good and how talented your quarterback is. So I think he's already beginning that trajectory like Trevor Lawrence has. And it's really cool to see.
Right. And again, the only thing that bugged me this entire Packer game, and it almost cost us a few times, is A.J. Dillon running. Like, good gosh, that guy just literally goes up the middle and just bangs into people.
He does. There was definitely a certain play call that was, I think it was like a 3rd and short, and you could see that the Chiefs were bringing the house, and there was some weird route behind the line of scrimmage that A.J. Dillon ran, and it did not work. It absolutely failed. It was what it was, but his pass catching ability has stepped up, and he had several plays in this game too where he took what almost looked like nothing and turned it into like 7, 8, 9, 10 yards, kind of almost Jonathan Taylor-esque in a way. So I definitely give him props for making those plays happen too.
Yeah, this was the first game I think I've seen where he had 4 yards of carry. And when I looked at it, I was like, there's no way he had 4 yards of carry because it just didn't feel like it.
Yes, he had to make it happen. This was definitely the game where when that team needed him to make 4+ yards per carry, he had to do it to keep that offense rolling, to keep that offense moving. And I think that was absolutely his driving motivation for this game. So I just love what I saw out of A.J. Dillon and putting that run game on his back, knowing that there was no Aaron Jones to go to. So really good props to him for that.
No, not. I will never give that guy props. Like, I literally did not believe that he had 4 yards of carry until I saw the stat, and it's 4.1, and I was like, what? Where did that come from? But I mean, he caught one pass. You know who I do like? Patrick Taylor, and there was a James Robinson sighting.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like James Robinson has kind of had the shorthand of the stick since Urban Meyer drafted Travis Etienne. So the fact that you guys have him, that kind of brings in an added element. And I do feel like the longevity of the Packers run game is going to be kind of a 3-headed horse in a certain way. And I feel like if you can utilize A.J. Dillon as more of almost like a fullback position at some point, a guy who can catch and just run real angry up the gut, I think that's going to be the answer and what pays dividends for your short yardage offense in a way. So I do like the fact that we're bringing in other running backs, even with Aaron Jones being out.
The one thing I do give, okay, I guess I'll give him some credit, or I'll give the Packers credit, not really A.J. Dillon, but like, he's been healthy. Like, I gotta give him that because
Yeah.
the best part about him running up the middle and smashing into people and not getting any yards is like when it gets cold out there and he starts smashing into people, other teams are going to be like, yeah, I don't want to tackle that guy. Like,
Yeah.
it's too cold.
Uh-huh. Him and Isaiah Pacheco both have a different style of running, and it comes from the Derrick Henry school of hard knocks for sure. But both Pacheco and Dylan have a very powerful style of running, and plus, I mean, they have really strong thighs, and I think it was even Dylan at the intro said he came from Quad City University. So
Yeah.
I love hearing that. That's pretty awesome.
That's his nickname is Quadzilla. So like
Yes.
they've been calling him that since his rookie year. So like
Love it.
and I mean when you look at the dude, like he has no upper body. Like I mean he
Yeah.
has like a mini upper body, but his legs are ridiculous.
Yeah, he's the Sebastian Janikowski of running backs.
That is
That's it.
that's a
Yeah.
solid reference right there.
There you go. It's Seabass 2.0 in the running back form. I love it.
Only coming from a Raiders fan, I swear.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's no debate. That's how you do it. So I love it, man. But yeah, that's some really cool stuff out of Green Bay, and yeah, just looking forward, seeing the future of this offense. The schedule is just insane. Like I cannot believe the path of the remaining schedule of the Green Bay Packers. Like I said, I thought it was a 2024 draft order. I had no idea that is basically the easiest remaining schedule in existence that anyone could come up with.
It has to be close. And like the crazy part is, so I know like last week I said, oh, they're like one game out of the playoffs. Well, they're tied for the 6th seed with Minnesota, and they play Minnesota in this run. Okay. Minnesota, on the other hand, like I'm pulling up their schedule.
Like, they got 2 games against Detroit.
Yeah. The Packers play the Giants, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Minnesota, Chicago. Jeez. Half of those teams aren't even playing anymore.
Oh yeah, they're done. They checked out. They're going for Caleb Williams at this point.
Like I know Carolina has nothing to lose for, which sounds weird, but like
they also have nothing to win for.
And they're horrible. Like they're actually just not good.
Yeah, and like I gotta ask you about this because like this is kind of going back to what was happening, but man, like I like the fact that David Tepper bought the team. I like the fact that Matt Rule was bringing in the Baylor offense, and then I like the fact that Matt Rule realized that his defense stunk. And this was back when they had Christian McCaffrey, when they had DJ Moore. They were kind of trying to figure it out at quarterback, but it wasn't terrible like it is now. I just don't understand how they've just completely plummeted to the depths of the NFL, and they have no defense. They have no offense. Well, I can also say a part of them having no defense is the firing of Steve Wilkes, which should have never happened. And now Steve Wilkes has the best defense in the entire NFL. But yeah, I just don't understand how Carolina is so terrible.
Yeah, so they were actually going through this. I think I was listening to like Sirius XM, like the fantasy show or something.
Sure.
And they were going through the Carolina lineup, and I was like,
they got guys.
They got guys. Yeah, like what is happening down there? And then like defensively, okay, they're not good defensively, but like even offensively, they're bad. I don't remember where they rank offensively, but like I'm pretty sure it's in the bottom.
Yeah, and I mean they kind of brought in like the veteran geriatric all-stars 2.0 to play offense for them. And like what was the meaning of bringing in these guys who obviously were on the outs of their original team? And not only did they commit to it, well, they doubled down on it, and then they tripled down on it. Like between Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst, Miles Sanders, getting rid of DJ Moore, getting rid of Christian McCaffrey, bringing in a undersized quarterback. you're literally doing everything possible to give yourself the worst possible offense that you can go with.
Yeah, and like what I heard on that show is like I think it was like a Carolina beat writer too. He was like,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the season, they were all in. Like they were thinking they were good enough to win. And especially the NFC South, like, I mean, if we want to be technical about it, they still have a shot at winning the South.
Oh, okay. Mathematically.
Yeah. Mathematically. But
yeah.
Well, maybe they don't, actually.
Yeah, and I watch the NFL Network, and they got a lot of really strong people working over there, and I like Mark Ross quite a bit too. He's a really cool guy, but man, he put his flag into the sand of the Carolina Panthers and was banging the drum that team was going to convincingly win that division. And you and I saw what we saw out of Bryce Young way early on before the season started. And there was not a single chance that that was going to happen. Like, for me, it was pretty evident from training camp how he basically looked like a high school kid playing in the NFL, that the Carolina Panthers were going to be probably the worst team in the NFL. And it just happened like that.
Yeah, and the crazy part is so they are mathematically eliminated. They're the only team in the NFL that's mathematically eliminated. But on top of that, so I was looking at their offensive numbers. So they are the fourth worst scoring team in the NFL. But listen to these teams around them and tell me what they all have in common. New England, the Giants,
really bad,
the Jets,
really bad,
Pittsburgh,
really bad.
The Raiders,
should be bad.
Arizona,
I believe in my Raiders.
Tennessee,
Raiders, kind of. Tennessee is kind of with them too.
Atlanta, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, those are all some. I bet those are the worst offensively teams in the NFL, right?
They are all the worst offenses, but what they all have in common is they've switched their quarterback multiple times. All of those teams, except Carolina. Carolina's had the same quarterback the entire time.
And it's still been terrible the whole time.
Still terrible. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, when it comes to Carolina, I know that their highest end of their ownership is saying they are committed to Bryce Young, but I don't believe it. I think they're saying it just to kind of keep the kids' spirits up. But I think they all realize that, wow, you guys massively screwed up drafting Bryce Young. There's no reason why you should have taken Bryce Young ahead of CJ Stroud. And that was basically the feel that they were going to take Stroud up until the final week before the draft started. And then I heard Monday morning on a show on Fox that I love listening to, that they were going to switch it up and go to Bryce Young. And I was blown away by it, by how they suddenly switched and were really making a bad decision.
And then on top of that, they are the second worst defense in all of the NFL, only in front of Washington, who basically traded all their good defensive players. So they don't even count.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a miserable way to look at a franchise that for a little bit was kind of hovering back to the playoffs since making the Super Bowl in the Cam Newton era. I thought this was a team that was going to start to find their way back. And I thought it was going to happen with Matt Rule. I was really shocked of how quickly they slipped and then terminated him, then hired Frank Reich, who does not deserve to be a head coach ever. And even before being a head coach with the Panthers, he shouldn't have been the head coach with the Colts. Bringing him in, bringing that train wreck, just an absolute disaster. So they are totally up the creek with what to do in the future. They're basically starting from square one without any pieces to leverage and any team components that are successful to work off of.
Right, and so then here's the fun. So I started looking at the Rams standings or schedule. Yeah. The Rams have Baltimore. They're probably going to lose. Then they have Washington. That's an easy win. They
Yep.
have New Orleans, which could be a toss-up. The Giants, and then they have San Francisco. And that last game, San Francisco might still be playing and trying to get the number 1 seed.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're looking at probably of those 5 games, you're probably looking at about 2 losses,
Yeah, at least.
possibly 3, at least 2 losses there. I mean, I think you and I think that the LA should be a much better team record-wise than what they are, but this is a situation they find themselves in, and this is the schedule they have left that they have to finish. So it's a really tough spot that they put themselves in, and I think they're a better team than what their record reflects. But they're going to be in a position where the only thing that matters are these final 5 games, and they're going to have to win at least 3 of those games, if not 4, to make it in.
And then just looking at Minnesota here, who's the other team fighting for that spot. Now, Minnesota has it tough. Like, I think Minnesota, because only 2 of these teams can get in, and Minnesota's got your Raiders, which could be a toss-up.
Yep.
And it's at Las Vegas. So
nice.
Then they have at Cincinnati.
Okay.
Detroit home and away, and then at home against Green Bay. And
wow.
I mean, that's at least 3 losses. At least.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking 4 right there. So yeah, that's a really, really tough schedule for Minnesota to finish the season out. I even think that's even tougher than LA's that you pointed out.
And the only like reason I don't give it 4 is because Detroit might not be playing for anything that last game.
Right. They might just know that they're in and say, okay, we're in. We're going to have a playoff spot regardless. And we really don't care about the destination that this is going in, because if it's not Ford Field the entire way out, we'll figure it out.
Because in my eyes, Detroit's kind of locked in as a 3 seed. Atlanta's not going to catch them, if it is Atlanta, but Atlanta's not going to catch them. And then they're not going to catch San Francisco or Philly. So, or I mean, who knows? Maybe Philly falls off, but they'd have to make up a whole game and a half. So, I don't know.
Right. But to have that first game of the wild card round is going to be the Dallas Cowboys against the champion of the NFC South. Yep. I just don't think that's going to go well for that NFC South team. I really don't. I think in a way this is almost a first round bye for Dallas in a way. So that's going to happen. And then at that point, Detroit is going to be probably content with being either the 5 either the 6 or the 3, and make what they can out of it and take it as they go. But that's not a team that's going to get the 2 or the 1.
Yeah, I think they're locked into 3. Like, Atlanta's the 4, and Dallas, Minnesota, and Green Bay are the wild cards. Minnesota and Green Bay aren't going to catch the Lions, because the Lions obviously play Minnesota twice. I mean, unless they lose to Minnesota twice, which could happen. But, and then San Francisco and Philly are just much better, and they don't play each other anymore. So, Dallas is going to just probably destroy Atlanta. I'm assuming it's going to be Atlanta or Tampa of all teams. And then, like, as a Packer fan, you kind of hope that you get the 6th seed, because you don't want to play San Francisco or an angry Philadelphia in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, if I'm Green Bay at this point, I would have no qualms going up against Philadelphia, because their secondary is trash.
Right.
It really is. So that one I'd be okay with if you played them at the 2. But at some point, someone's going to play San Francisco. If they are the 1, you really have no control over that, and you just got to be content with that. So it is what it is. But I mean, I think we're all hoping that Philadelphia holds on to that one spot. I get a feeling it's not going to happen. I get a feeling Dallas is probably going to put them in check, considering that first time they played was pretty close. And what's to say that Philadelphia doesn't lose another game at some point against someone we're not even thinking about? So I think Philadelphia is going to end up further down than the 1 seed for sure.
If they do, San Francisco's probably going to take it since they have wins over both of those head to head. And like at that rate, if you're like a Packers team, you want to be the 6 seed so you can play against, Philly. Or Detroit at the 3. And as the 7, you don't want to play San Francisco in the first round. That's just
right. Yeah, that's kind of the way it's going to go. But I think in a way, though, if you think about it, if Philly does drop to the 2, that might be a sneaky upset for the 7 then.
Maybe.
In which case, the 7 would go to San Francisco.
But then if they slip, though, then Dallas would take that spot.
Yes.
Remember,
yes,
Dallas
you're
is
right.
only one game back, so even in that rate, you don't want to play Dallas in the first round either,
Yeah, exactly.
So
in that,
maybe just
being the 6 or 7,
sticking in that 6 seed and just playing Detroit. Great day.
Yeah, that would be a great day. Trying to find a path to avoid San Francisco is going to be a little bit tough, but I almost think too, I mean, like, how far back is Green Bay from Detroit rankings wise?
3 games.
Oh, 3 games? Oh man, that's too much, man. That you're going to have to take a massive collapse from Detroit to make that happen, which I'm not saying is 100% out of the realm of possibility.
But then if they do collapse, it'll be because of Minnesota. So Minnesota has the tiebreaker over Green Bay. So either way, Green Bay, the best they can do is a 6 seed.
Interesting. Well, but the thing is, so Minnesota won the first game against Green Bay, and regardless of the outcome of the second game, Minnesota would still own that tiebreaker?
They have a better conference record, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, that would do it then. So, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, the path for Green Bay making the playoffs is looking like it's gonna happen. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. It looks pretty solid, and I like the future that Green Bay is putting up there. It looks promising.
Man, just crossing fingers, hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, from a fantasy perspective, Jordan Love is absolutely a guy I'm already starting to turn the wheels on for next season for being a potential quarterback that I want to be my quarterback number 1. I think the future is very, very bright for this guy now that he's figuring out who he is as a quarterback.
Right. And next year they'll probably have, I mean, who knows if A.J. Dillon, or I know A.J. Dillon won't be there, but who knows if Aaron Jones will be there or if they'll draft a running back or if
they'll
they
draft
actually
one.
get him some wide receiver weapons. Just saying.
But at this point, you'd rather have a running back or 2.
Yeah, true. Very true. And I mean, the last time the Packers drafted 2 running backs, they got Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you can tell that's definitely a style of Gutekunst. And I mean, yeah, I've always been really liking that draft from back when they got Jamal Williams and they had Aaron Jones. And then knowing that they were going to turn the page on Jamal Williams and then follow that up with the drafting of A.J. Dillon has been pretty smart. So I would think they're already starting to figure out what that next turning of the page is going to be. And I would definitely think they already got their eyes on multiple running backs coming into this year's draft.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they'd have pulled the trigger this year and got like a Zach Charbonnet, but
Yeah, exactly. either Zach Charbonnet or somehow at the last moment that Jonathan Taylor deal fell apart. So we'll never really know the ins and outs of that. But yeah, it is what it is, and it's happening. So yeah, yeah, a lot
I
of
know
good.
both of us were pretty big on Db8 coming in. So like
Yes,
that would have been
yes.
great.
And there's going to be fast speedsters like that. And I know everyone is probably more so looking for like a Bijan Robinson prototype. But to me, I almost want more of like a Devon A Chain, Isaiah Pacheco, someone that's got speed, power, and is short and hard to see. Even going down south to Tennessee, I think the future of that guy like Tajay Spears, that's kind of that prototype of a player that I want. And even that's what Christian McCaffrey is.
Right. I know that was your big guy. Like you really liked that guy coming in.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I still like Tajay Spears a lot. It looks like he's definitely going to be the bell cow now that Derrick Henry's got a concussion. But yeah, like pretty cool stuff there. So yeah, pretty good. Yeah. So I think we got a pretty good wrap on Packers talk tonight. So we're looking pretty good for a show. I'm thinking for our first show of the week on a Monday night football night. So I like it. What else you got, Triggs?
What? Oh man, there's all types of stuff, man. Like the NBA, obviously throwing up their stuff and being cool with the in-season tournament. Like there's a lot of nonsense going on in the NBA.
There
LeBron
you
getting
go.
into a fight with Ime Udoka. That
Oh
was
yeah.
fun.
Yep.
I was very surprised he got tossed. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're seeing over the last year or so, we're starting to see really Ime Udoka's character come to light
Mm-hmm.
in a not so positive light. So it is what it is, and yeah, I mean, we all understand how LeBron is, and not the best of ways either. So it is what it is. But yeah, the NBA in season tournament now that's shifting to Vegas is looking pretty cool. So I like that, and yeah, I think we can do more about that. Talk more. Let's do some hoops talk tomorrow, and
Yeah,
join us
for
back
sure.
tomorrow, man. And I think we'll be pretty cool on that. So
And
just want to let people, yeah,
we'll know like who won half of the games today.
exactly. Well, we'll know half of those teams that are going further. So good stuff. So definitely want to let people know. Come back tomorrow. You guys can check us out. 7 o'clock Central. You can see us on Twitter, X, and you can see us on YouTube. So you'll find us there. Be sure to click that subscribe button. Follow us. Follow us on social medias. You can also see us on Instagram and TikTok, and you can find us there. So pretty good stuff for everyone. So I think we got a lot of stuff. What else you got, Triggs? What's your video game of the day today, pal? Oh
I,
my
I
goodness!
was ready. I was ready.
Oh my goodness! So I can tell you flat out, my inside hack to Mario Tennis is Waluigi. Waluigi gonna win. Straight
Yes.
up, bud.
So believe it or
Waluigi.
not, Waluigi left-handed was like one of my favorite players to
Oh,
play with.
yes, he was. I forgot about that. That he's a left-handed, especially having that backwards L on his hat is absolutely dope. Yeah, I love Waluigi. I love too when he would win a rally. I don't know if he did it all the time or if he only did it especially after like serves. And to me, he had like the what's his name, the Eastern European Jokic, or no, not Jokic. Man, I'm blanking on a guy's name, but
Joker.
to me, yes, the Joker. He reminded me of him in N64 version. Like his overhand serve is just stupid. Like it has so much velocity. It comes at you from an angle that is almost vertical. Waluigi's my guy, man. I just felt invincible playing with Waluigi.
He and Daisy were my two favorite players to play with. I don't know why I
Gotcha.
played with Daisy. I don't even know who she is, but I just remember that.
She's like the Princess Peach girlfriend of Luigi.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I don't know exactly what the Mario storyline is. Hopefully, someone watching can give us an inside scoop on who in the world Daisy is. She seems like this alter ego to Princess Peach at the end of the day. Sneak peek too. She's actually my baby Daisy is my number one player in the bullet bike in Mario Kart for the Wii.
Oh,
Yeah, sneaky hookups there. But yeah, Mario Tennis, Waluigi, that's where it's at, man. That's no debate.
absolutely. What do we got
Absolutely.
on in
Yeah.
the belt world?
So in the belt world, we're going kind of going with a reddish look today. I don't know why, because obviously I don't like the Chiefs, but they went down. So see ya. But we got Iron Man. So
Oh,
going with some red look. Definitely love science and analytics and the likes. So boom, got you some Iron Man action, and that's how we do it. So
I mean,
I like
we're
it.
gonna let you slide with that Chicago hat for now, but you
It,
know,
it matches. It looks good.
yeah, the
Like, and let's be honest. Like, we're all hoping that when Chicago gets its act together, sometime over the next handful of years, that they ditch this city uniform edition of this weird like orange jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. I don't know who thought that was a good look, but it's a terrible look. I think they got to go to the powder baby blues of the Chicago city flag and have that be the city edition. I think that would be the freshest look for any city edition in the NFL. But shout out to Green Bay. Green Bay has an excellent city edition uniform that they wear, where it's like the all green and the yellow helmets. Those are really really fresh as well.
I I'm not gonna lie, I zoned you out because you said Chicago. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Hey man, I'm telling you, yeah, I know there's a rivalry there, but man, like Chicago is just a dope city, man. Like it is so cool going downtown, Navy Pier, Rush Street, Michigan Avenue, Grand Central Station by the Sears Tower. Man, it's cool, man. It is a real cool city. Millennium Park, Grant Park. Shout out! I actually went there for the NFL draft. Man, if anyone's been there for any kind of big events downtown Chicago, it's different. It's really cool.
I do like their field museum. How about that?
Oh, okay, yeah. I've been there a few times too. Way back in the day, though.
We're thinking about going to the Shed Aquarium soon.
Ooh, okay, nice. Yeah, that's something I'll have to check out one of these days too. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's some good stuff. So, yeah, so I think we got a good show for the night. So if you guys can pop back and join us tomorrow, you'll see us same time, same place, 7 o'clock Central. So and shout out to James. Thank you, bud, on the threads. So there you go, man. For Steve Metrics and my boy,
DJ Triggs.
we are No Debate Sports, and that's no debate.